And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. I'm Dan, your host, aka smAsho. Starting things out looking at a 2-day video here from the SDO of the Sun. It's 171 angstroms, one of the ionized states of iron. Its UV emission spectra. Active region setting in the southeast. Small active region active region in the southeast. Active region setting in the northwest. No sunspots. I think we're 17 days in a row with 0 sunspots. Let's look at the fields. And the most organized magnetic region is this one down here. It did have ombre yesterday morning when we reported on it. It did not have ombre long enough to get named a sunspot. There's the fade to 171 and 304 angstroms. And we've got some more custom movies here. Here's a 1-day, which includes the 171 and the magnetogram colorized variety. And this is part of the SDO suite also. It's a pretty sweet suite. And here's another view. It's 94 angstroms. Got a close-up of that sort of a failed sunspot down there. There's the last day of that. And it's still got some life left in it and some magnetic organization. Here's that plage in the northwest. A little bit of filamentary activity there. Here's the same area in 304 angstroms, which is a helium ionized state emission spectra. There are some filaments in between Earth and Sun right now, and we could be fixing to see a coronal mass ejection. Will it be Earth-facing? Well, stay tuned to our channels. We'll let you know. And lastly, here is that southeastern quadrant in 171. And you can see some filamentary activity in these areas also. And let's move on to some more data. The 10.7 centimeter radial flux still at 70 solar flux units. Here's the zoomed in graph of the past 3 years or so. Finally above 70 for smoothed monthly values. And the KP index, a global measurement of geomagnetism, is at 1. We don't see any solar flares to speak of, just a standard flatlined X-ray output. There's the proton flux, similarly flatlined. Real-time solar wind has seen a shifting phi angle in the past 10 hours. We saw some weak coronal mass ejection style glancing blows to the magnetosphere here. Here you see this little uptick from 348 to 394 kilometers a second at the same time as an increase in the density. And then another small glancing blow coronal mass ejection style strike right there. Very weak, generally weak solar output. Again, the phi angle is shifty, so I'm not going to report on it. And current solar wind density 4.9 protons per cubic centimeter. Current solar wind density just ramped down over the past hour to 362 kilometers a second. Here's what's going on in the magnetosphere. This is 4 hours of data courtesy University of Michigan. And if you'd like to know where this derives from, just look up Geospace Magnetosphere movie, scroll down, click on Details, click on the Space Weather Modeling Framework, and it will explain where the data comes from. There's a lot of variables to make these models. Coming a little closer to home, here are the ground magnetic perturbations during this polar excursion. And welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. Congratulations on surviving a global pandemic, which is now statistically irrelevant. I know. It's only relevant in terms of the pathetic and infantile response of mankind, not the virus itself, which no longer looks novel. similar to the common cold. Anyway, there's 4 hours of ground magnetic perturbations. We try to cover it daily. California's been seeing some voluntary power outages here as PG&E is shutting down power in certain places on purpose in preparation for windstorms. Louisiana's still showing 138,000 plus out of power, and nearly 20,000 in Michigan as well. 56,000 reported in California. Keep in mind they're only tracking about 11 million custies there. We continue to see spikiness here in the GOES magnetometers, and it's because there's a little bit of indecision in terms of which polarity current sheet the Earth will snap to. We've probably gone back and forth several times over the past couple of days. And here's what first we're going to look at the solar coronal magnetic fields. And I just like this animation. Keep in mind that shows quite a bit of data there. That's a couple of weeks. And so here's what we're talking about with the current sheet. You can see North Pole current sheet shown in green, South Pole current sheet shown in red. And while we are currently in the North Pole current sheet, we could snap into the South at any moment. Keep in mind the magnetic environment can change at any time with no warning, and the current data we're showing is about 2 hours old. Here's a line of sight field plot. No real changes in the B field shown in blue. No surprises there. Again, no sunspots. And welcome to another edition of the Smash Lights, where I don't get enraged about anything, but I do talk about whatever I want. Because, well, that's the point. And thanks for leaving a comment. Be stoic. Be stoic left a comment and said, he's here. Now, nerds like me, when we were kids, read the dictionary. Check out this word. Trolland. So, the word of the day on Merriam-Webster is plaudit, which is an act or round of applause. Please take a moment to provide a plaudit for this video, as we are streaming live. And I agree with Rush Limbaugh that the tension created with a live broadcast creates a better output. This is why I don't make boring recorded videos as much as I make live streams. It's also more efficient for us. So, how about a photon? Are you familiar with what a photon is? How about a quantum of electromagnetic radiation, right? We're going to talk about photons a little bit later, about what's going on with the Large Hadron Collider. By the way, it's not making sunspots. Check it out. I found a dated term, Trolland. Trolland. A unit of intensity of light at the retina equal to the illumination received per square millimeter of a pupillary area from the surface having brightness of 1 candle per square meter. It's a dated term coined by Leonard T. Trolland, an American psychologist and physicist. Let's talk about trolling. What kind of trolling? Well, it's to antagonize others online by deliberately posting inflammatory, irrelevant, or offensive comments or other disruptive content. And I'm not going to talk about who I've been trolling, but by the way, a lot of people have been looking up obsequious, because obsequious is a term that Joe Biden idiotically used, referring to Trump's relationship to Vladimir Putin. So it's almost obsequious, according to Biden, which means marked by or exhibiting a fawning attentiveness or too eager to help or obey someone important. So yeah, Biden claims Trump is obsequious to Vladimir Putin, and Trump claims Biden is obsequious to Chad, because he thinks Biden's agenda is made in Chad, and I would tend to agree. And that his own agenda is made in the U.S. By the way, again, we're streaming live to Twitch. It's twitch.tv/smAsho. Please subscribe over there if you enjoy the content on YouTube. We love to watch the live premiere events with our audience, as I would remind you that I'm not only smAsho, but I'm also a client. YouTube.com/smAsho. Check out our playlists over there if you haven't. Visit the links below the video. Help support the channel that way. We're also on BitChute, and there is, of course, exclusive content over there. Our top video is one that was demonetized on YouTube. COVID-19, the disease caused by coronavirus, cured via hydroxychloroquine. Let's talk about China and COVID. It's very scary. It's spooky. I'm scared it's spooked. So scared it's spooked that I want to go to a giant party in Wuhan or Beijing or someplace like that, because they're going on all over the place, because they're just like, all right, you can hang. Yeah, you can hang. You're just cheap plastic and you're made in China. Now I'll tell you something that's not made in China, smAsho.org. It's got links to our social media underneath this arrow here, as well as links to the forum, the smAsho store on Teespring, the Smash store on Teespring, and our affiliate. So check that out. If you'd like a souvenir, congratulations on surviving a global pandemic so far. Now this shirt's gold. The one I'm currently wearing is actually black. Smasher priced my first pandemic. Smash staff's mom seems to like this one, as she got Karen'd at the grocery store. I guess they were offended by the planet having a mask on it. And let me tell you, I'm offended by the planet having a mask on it, because it's stupid, ineffective, it's a ridiculous and infantile response to a virus that's turned out to be not novel at all. Let's see what I was talking about at smAsho.com/forum in the coronavirus thread, which is part of the free-for-all forum, by the way. The whole forum's free-for-all. Feel free to set up a login if you'd like to contribute. smAsho.com/forum. Turns out, back on April 11th, oh, see, it just vanished. It just keeps vanishing. It's becoming such a nice virus. It's cheap in plastic and made in China. Let's see what was going on April 11th. Summary. Global new cases stabilize as deaths in the U.S. and U.K. continue to climb. Oh my God, it seems very scary. White House readying plan to start reopening economy by May 1st. How did that work out? Global coronavirus deaths top 100,000. England's death toll tops 8,000. New York sees negative ICU admissions for the first time. Turkey death toll tops 1,000. Deaths in Spain continue to decline already by the 10th of April. So we've got a 31-page section about COVID, and we copy-pasted all the text from the articles into the thread, along with occasional comments from our viewers, users of the forum, etc. Apple and Google team up to fight coronavirus with Bluetooth. Oh yeah. Now, next in the news is, now we covered this last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. They had this giant pool party in China, in Wuhan, China, which was the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak. And of course, the initial handling of the coronavirus outbreak caused me to state that China is a paper tiger and is greatly overstated in terms of its danger to the rest of the world because of the pathetic and infantile response that Wuhan had to the SARS-CoV-2 outbreak. In any case, guess what? They're still partying in China. They're not wearing a lot of clothes. All they do is they use their app, which uses contact tracing to determine that they're very unlikely to have been in contact with anybody who had COVID, and then they check their temperature, and that creates an infinitesimal chance of contracting anything from inside the club. They're not wearing much clothing. They're not wearing masks. No masks whatsoever. There's an article about it on Zero Hedge. It's zerohedge.com. By the way, if you don't follow me on Instagram, you may not see videos like this one, where we've got a volcano and a giant pleco called James T. Kirk. Yeah, we got a volcano in our tank, folks. Also, you may see information about bike rides. Like, I forgot to make a clip yesterday and shout out to the Velo Shop. Anyway, we are growing our organization. Again, please check out smashamash.org and the links therein. If you want to check out the affiliate link, it's smashamash.com/affiliate. And let me just scroll down the list. You will have to have ad blockers turned off in order to see this page. Just turn it off for this page, leave it on for the rest of them. Otherwise, you won't see the ads, because these links to our Amazon affiliates products, they're advertisements for specific products. Our website's not going to collect your information or do anything. We're not going to sell your information to third parties for advertising purposes or anything like that. smashamash.com/affiliate, and we'll be making more content featuring various of these products. Perhaps consider a Bluetooth keyboard for your device because you're sick of using screen keyboards. Or perhaps you need a new mouse? How about the Lenovo Legion M200? It's only $20. If you haven't gotten an air fryer yet, consider getting yourself an air fryer. Use our link to go to the GoWise 3.7 quart. There's also a 5.0 quart on there. And we're looking to invest in a purple one here for the shop. We've got to get some people together to maybe get Becky a Christmas present so we can do more cooking at the bike shop. Because when we're done riding, we want potatoes. And welcome to another cosmology segment where I continue to talk about whatever I want, and something I talk about a lot is cosmology, as it is a branch of science that's essentially being rewritten. First in cosmology, let's talk about cosmic rays. Now, cosmic rays are protons primarily traveling at very high speeds, sometimes from very distant locations, possibly including other galaxies. And they affect Earth's weather and so on by causing cloud nucleation and other aspects to Earth's environment. They also affect the sun, most likely. In any case, here are the cosmic ray monitors at Apatity and Barentsburg. And we did see an uptick here over the past week at both Apatity and Barentsburg. Otherwise, flat over the past 30 days. Let's also look at Athens, Greece, a neutron monitor much farther south. And there's the flat graph of the last 30 days at Athens. Next, we're going to look at Mexico City. Mexico City flat on the past 30 and an uptick over the past week there as well. And lastly, Oulu, Finland and DOMC, Antarctica. To see what's going on in the southern hemisphere winter in terms of neutrons. There's Oulu, and you see a similar uptick of the past week. Flat on the past 30 days, there's DOMC, Antarctica. Slight downtick over the past 30 days, but it still does show that 1 week uptick in cosmic ray flux. Monitor them yourself. Don't take my word for it at the network of cosmic ray stations. I like it. Now, we regularly talk about cosmology in terms of the Neil Gorell Swift-Bat Observatory. Today, we don't have any feature from that. However, we're talking about the Heart Nebula. Yes, NGC 1805 is the featured object today. Here's a zoom in on Simbad. That's Simbad. And there is a globular cluster in the heart of the Heart Nebula. Globular clusters are like little galaxies within a galaxy. And this one is interesting in that it's got stars that appear to be of different portions of their life cycle. Now, as far as stellar life cycles go, I'm in complete disagreement with the HR diagram, which I'll talk about in a minute. But you can see in here we've got red star, red star, red star, red star, blue star, blue star, blue star. And that's not considered normal, as most globular clusters seem to have stars with similar emission spectra. So this one here is interesting in that it's got apparently 2 different sort of generations of stars in it, and this could give some insight into how NGC 1805 formed. If you want to read about it, this one's on SciTech Daily. And of course, most of these stars will be orbiting some sort of central point there, probably a beyond stellar mass radio source located in the middle of that. Now let's talk about the HR diagram. The HR diagram is the idea that we can tell stellar life cycles just simply by looking at the brightness and the temperature. Now, of course, those things are related. Also, in terms of solar radii. So, for instance, Deneb is a very, very hot star. It's also a very huge star, only a little bit smaller than Betelgeuse. If Deneb was in our solar system, it would be about the size of Mars's orbit. Then you come down here and you've got other hot stars that are similarly hot to Deneb and just not as bright. Of course, Deneb is the most intrinsically bright object visible from Earth in the galaxy. So in any case, the HR diagram is a theoretical explanation of stellar life cycles. So what you're looking at up here is they're saying, okay, 10 million years ago the sun was like this, 6 million years ago, the sun was like this. 1.5 million years ago, the sun was like this. And I don't really see any evidence to any of that, but I just wanted to familiarize our viewers with the HR diagram, as it is sort of a widely believed evolutionary chart for the way stars behave, as it's believed that when stars get cold, they also do weird things like collapse and do work on themselves and violate laws of thermodynamics. If you're not familiar with the Greek alphabet, well, I was just looking at it because B Centauri is one of the hottest stars out there, very close to the blue level, and I'm not so good at the Greek alphabet. I've spent enough time reading the dictionary, survey said. Oh man, I guess I'll have to do more of that when we get done making the video. Large Hadron Collider creates matter from light. Apparently, if you have a bright enough series of lights, you'll create a W boson. And without getting too into this is a job for Eugene Bagashov. Anyway, it turns out that at massively high energy states, the weak electromagnetic force is related to electromagnetism. So this is part of the point of unified theory science, where stuff breaks down, or I guess it breaks up. But in any case, yeah, the Large Hadron Collider creating matter out of only photons. An interesting series of events, to say the least. Photons and W bosons are force carriers, as they both carry the electroweak force. It's really happening because nature is quantum mechanical. If you want to read about that, it's also on SciTech Daily, about the Large Hadron Collider collecting matter from light. By the way, consider funding us via any way you are able, as we are tanking over here, especially at YouTube. But in any case, we're on Subscribestar. We're also on Patreon. So consider becoming a Patreon. It's patreon.com/smAshomash. Thanks to our patrons for being the true source of funding for the content. And for those, we need your help, patrons. So for those of you who are sending us a couple bucks, up to $15 per month, we greatly appreciate it. Please tell your friends, foes, science noobs, and science pros that you're sending us money, and that perhaps they should too, as we will roll all of it back into making more content. And here ends another Smashlight segment. Again, please visit the links below the video. Press like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Leave a comment, etc. Again, share the content with your friends and foes, science noobs, and science pros. And let's get on to some more space data stuff. Here's a 1-year graph of the electron flux, and we're still at pretty high electron storm levels. And you can see right there on the 3-day graph. Here's a 7-day graph, and you can see significant electron storms here. Charging hazards aren't that bad right now, and the forecast is for this to come down a little bit. There's the charging hazard environment right now, mainly in the southern hemisphere. Here's a total electron content, and this is the whole air column all the way up to the thermosphere. And we do see some anomalies here. We see significant electron flux even at nighttime. And of course, the electron belt tends to be centered on the equator. NOAA is forecasting a slight downtick here in electron flux, and I would tend to agree with it, as we've seen pretty weak solar wind for the past couple of days. Here's one slice of the atmosphere. It's just the ionosphere layer, and it's a little anomalous here. Nothing too extreme. It did make it all the way up to at least 12 megahertz there. And we used to show you 6 hours of this. Now we've moved up to 1 full day. You're seeing 1 hour per each second. And here's the latest image, coming in at 9:30 Universal Time, looking quite normal there. Here's where stuff is, mainly planets and so on, in the solar system. And let me just check the life of the stream, check our chats, and we are good to go. There's where things will be in 1 week. Now I like to use in-the-sky.org, and I like to orient my star chart to the south. If you're up before dawn, You may see Mars and the Moon making a close appearance to each other, and also the third brightest object in the sky, Venus, if you've got a clear sky and a view of the ecliptic. And by the way, if you're wondering where Betelgeuse is, it's very easy to find. All you got to do is look at the 3 stars of Orion's belt and draw a perpendicular line from that center star, and you'll find Betelgeuse. So there's one to grow on. Betelgeuse, located right there. The shoulder of Orion. By the way, Betelgeuse is the largest single object visible to the naked eye. Next, doing an earthquake rundown, we saw at least a 6.3 magnitude quake in the Philippines at depth, as well as some other deep quakes. Let's roll up the list. I know we saw some in South America, and there's that 6.3 magnitude Filipino quake. It came in at 15:23 yesterday, Universal Time, and that's at depth, so I would not exhaust my earthquake warning. So here you go. If I were in these regions, I would most definitely have an earthquake plan, perhaps to be an asset, not a liability, in the event of a disaster. Again, that quake at Philippines is a 6.3. It's 119 kilometers depth. It could be a foreshock for a larger surface quake. If that happened at the surface, it would be more like a 6.7. So those areas, have a bug-out bag, have an idea of which buildings may crumble, etc. Here's another deep quake in Indonesia. That one's 215 kilometers depth at a 4.8 magnitude. A deep quake at Bolivia struck at 17:45 Universal Time yesterday. It's at 224 kilometers depth and a 4.4 magnitude. Deep quake struck Japan just before midnight Universal Time at a 4.9 magnitude and 125 kilometers depth. Another deep Bolivian quake. So a little uptick in deep quakes here. And there's an Indonesian deep quake at a 4.7 magnitude and 103 kilometers depth coming in as we did show prep. Revenador still erupting. There's a great image of that. And here's an image of me vanishing. So we've headed to volcanodiscovery.com to see what the last 24 hours held. And there's an image of Cinnabung. So the list includes Suwanusei Jima, producing an unknown volcanic ash plume. Cinnabung, elevated activity continues there. Please don't pole vault the caldera. Dacono exploding, flight level 7, flight level 070, 7,000 feet there. Sangay, volcanic ash not observed in satellite. Please don't pitch a tent on the lower slopes of Sangay. Revenador, effusive explosive eruption, and a pyroclastic flow created by near constant explosions over the western slopes. Please do not attempt to do a back handspring over the Revenador caldera, and please don't walk a tightrope over Sabancaya down in Peru because it's exploding. It's producing a 24,000 foot plume of ash, and that could be unhealthful. And we totally need the views on YouTube. We're very, very concerned about YouTube views because it's totally not shadow banned and throttled content. We got freeze warnings over almost the entire state of North Dakota, as well as some, winter weather advisories over northern Minnesota. Major snowfall forecasted for the southern Rockies. It must be so hot that it's snowing. So here's the forecast on Tropical Tidbits, and check it out. You're looking at a forecast of nearly 2 feet in southeastern Colorado. So that's through Thursday, September 10th, and that is quite the forecast. That's the GFS forecast. So there's how it's currently forecasted to play out. And that should be complete by about 6 o'clock Universal Time, otherwise known as Zulu time, on September 10th. In other words, by the time we make the video on Thursday, it'll be very snowy over almost the entire state of Colorado. How you like them apples? It must be so hot that it's cold. Oh my God, it's so hot that it's cold. Let's take a look at pressure maps here on windy.com. We'll just let this advance 24 hours into tomorrow. Major high pressure over the northern Pacific and central Canada. moving down, it looks like it's going to make for some cold temperatures indeed. There's where we expect things to be at 1 o'clock my time. And if you're wondering where I'm located in eastern Pennsylvania, in the Lehigh Valley, right about there. Next, looking at lightningmaps.org to see Lake Erie inundated with lightning. Hey, Toledo, there's thunder rolling in. Next time you hear it, check out lightningmaps.org. I like to know where the lightning's striking, especially when I'm out on my bike. Next, looking at water vapor maps for Europe and Africa. Shout out to our European and African viewers. Please leave us a comment if you're on a continent besides North America. Here are the water vapor maps for the Far East and Oceania. Here is a water vapor map for the Americas. Here's a U.S. Doppler radar map. Some snow already falling in Canada. That's Alberta. And that heavy series of storms are going right across Lake Erie. Going to slowly sweep across northwestern Pennsylvania. It's taking a mostly easterly route right now. Let's look at more water vapor maps to get us a better idea of how that will play out. So here's the water vapor map, and this will give you an idea of how this storm will move. As the water can't hide from the satellite, even if it's not condensed onto a cloud. There you go. And it looks like it's going to continue to move mostly east. Great animation of that region there. And it may slow down a little bit as it strikes Pennsylvania, as it's butting into a bunch of dry, massive air located right here. That's a bit of a high pressure zone, at least in comparison to the trailing moisture. It's an atmospheric pond. And let's just take a look at this cold air, which is going to start to get injected into the northern Rockies. And you can see that north to south flow is already starting. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. Could set some records. And here's what's going on in the jet streams. The jet streams of the Western world. And we see quite significant meridional jet stream flow. Also lots of articles about how the Arctic is melting. The Arctic is melting. Oh no, stop the presses. Better stop producing CO2 because oh no's, the Arctic is melting. Even though it's received record snowfall for 3 winters in a row. Now I am forecasting a little less snow this year than the last 3 winters. I won't get into why, but there are the jet streams of the eastern world. Extreme meridional jet stream flow at its finest. And we've got extreme fine viewers. Thanks, Smash Team, for tuning in. Perhaps pick yourself up a Smash Team shirt. It doesn't look like that. It looks like that. Perhaps get one in green. I think it looks pretty good. Or what about red? smAshomash.org has all the links. Thanks for flying American Smashways. And please keep your head and arms inside the Smash plane at all times. Fasten your safety belts, as we've got a bonus of features. How about 335 angstroms? How about an intensity gram? And how about a colorized magnetogram to show you 0 sunspots? Here are the organized magnetic locations. And it's breaking down, folks. I highly doubt it'll become a sunspot. We did show umbre yesterday and the day before, but it didn't have umbre long enough to be named. And you can barely even see anything happening. It's right in that region. 0 sunspots. And here's 335 angstroms. We do see a little bit of a crown prominence down there in the southern hemisphere at the southern solar polar region. And you can see that little brightening near the beginning of the video. We actually covered that yesterday as well. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive. Happy Labor Day. Let us know what you're doing today. We'll be making some more food. I believe we've got a rump roast to extremely slowly cook and eat around lunchtime. It's going to be delightful. And may that solar wind be at your back and that covidiously absent from your locale.